Welcome to the Moviegoers Society podcast, brought to you by Nerdtropolis. I'm your host, Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis. And once again, joining me for another week is my co-host, Drew Munhausen, the professional media and movie mastermind. Drew, looks like you're in a awesome factory of bow ties, but the real question is, did you fall back today with daylight savings?
I did fall back. So I got that extra hour of sleep, but I'll tell you what, not to go into parent mode, but you don't realize how much the time changes affect people until you have a child. It can be a rough go when you're having to change a schedule on a little one.
Yeah, I definitely feel it. I got no child. I'm the child myself. I raised myself. But yeah, I definitely feel daylight savings. It's very odd, getting dark really quick, but that's just what it is, you know. And today is, November 5th, daylight savings. But before we move further, I guess we can mention a couple things. It is V for Vendetta Day, pretty much. And also, it's the day that Doc Brown invented time travel on Back to the Future. And on top of that, it is the anniversary for The Matrix Revolutions, which is 20th anniversary is today, which is kind of wild. We got like three really fun movies kind of having a special day with November 5th.
I really liked the Nerdtropolis article you did about the day time travel was created, told as if it was a factual story on Nerdtropolis. Like, this is an important day in history because Emmett Brown created time travel, like kind of playing it straight. It was really good. I enjoyed it.
I tried to do something different. I was like, this is kind of Onion-esque. I give props to the Onion when I do some things like this. And I was like, this would be really awesome. So like the headline reads, time travel invented by Dr. Emmett Brown on this day in 1955. And it's a little quirky history lesson, but a lot of Back to the Future stuff. On the previous episode, we celebrated Back to the Future Day. So we talked about that. So I feel like this is Back to the Future is always a good time to talk about it. I love it. But today is also November 5th is the V for Vendetta Day, which is also, it's based on a historical day they put in this adaptation of the graphic novel. I guess it was a day in the UK. But that's a really good film. And I don't remember last time I've seen it, but I do remember watching it in theaters when it was released in 2006.
Yeah, I was just seeing that it came out in 2006, which I thought that the movie was older than that, but it's possible that I saw it in theaters too. I just remember watching it in high school, and it's one of those movies that you see, like, for our age group, you see it in high school and it's like, this is the coolest movie I've ever seen kind of thing when you're a young teenage boy. And so I don't know how it holds up. I haven't watched it in a long time. But I remember liking it a lot. And it was produced by the Wachowskis, and Hugo Weaving was like kind of big from the Matrix trilogy at the time. And of course, Natalie Portman. Yeah, I remember really liking it. I wish that I'd had time to catch up on it today and watch it again, but still worth shouting out.
Yeah, I'm not sure where you can watch it unless you own it. It's on some streaming service, but it's funny. So like the Wachowskis were a part of this, which is, and the day in the film is November 5th, but also November 5th is the 20th anniversary of their Matrix film, Matrix Revolutions. And so I think it's just kind of funny and kind of goes hand in hand. I think this year there's another anniversary, maybe in March, for their Speed Racer film, which I rewatched, and that's actually very underrated. It's a lot of fun.
I'm a big fan of that movie. Big fan. I rewatched it actually like maybe a year or two ago, and I thought it held up too. I like that movie a lot. I think it's underrated, like you said.
I think it's on Max, formerly HBO Max, and I watched it very recently, maybe within a month or two ago, and it's a lot of fun. I would like to see a sequel. I think a sequel could still happen with the same actors. Kind of leaves on a cliffhanger, kind of, to me, story-wise, what they're trying to do with it. And I'm down for it. It looks cool. It's colorful. They did it really well. So I'm not sure what happened with that film. If it was a dud box office.
I think it just underperformed at the box office.
It's a shame because it is a lot of fun. So yeah, a lot of movies we're already talking about, but in this podcast, we do dive into the world of cinema, exploring everything from beloved classics to latest blockbusters. You just saw we mentioned a bunch of random movies that came out at different times, but now we're on episode 17, Drew. So we are going on. We keep going. And tonight is game show night as we talk Quiz Lady starring Awkwafina, and then two films that Drew checked out I guess, did you watch both of them on Netflix, or I know one of them was kind of in theaters as well?
One of them is on Netflix now. The other will be on Netflix this coming Friday, but I caught it in theaters.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about. But before we get into all of that, we want to make sure you can connect with us online. You can find me on almost every single social media platform you can think of, as well as Nerdtropolis. So you can find me at Sean Taj, and then find Nerdtropolis at Nerdtropolis as well. And don't forget to visit nerdtropolis.com for your daily dose of movie news, reviews, interviews, and trailers. And Drew, where can they find you where you're not contributing to Nerdtropolis?
You can find me on all the social medias at Drew Munhausen, and especially I've been really about Letterboxd these days, where I'm posting what I'm watching and checking out what other people are watching. So that's always a good place to find me, is on Letterboxd.
You are very active on Letterboxd. I am not. I try to whenever I get a review up, but I've seen some stuff you've been probably rewatching a lot of stuff lately. I've been seeing maybe, or you just relogging them. What are you doing? Because there's some old stuff on there that you've been keeping track of.
I have, because of The Killer, I have been watching a lot of Fincher. So I've just been rewatching things like Fight Club and Seven, and actually, and some that the only Fincher movie that I had never seen before was Panic Room, and I just watched that recently.
Oh,
so
wow. Okay. So you got to talk about this when you're talking about The Killer. Then let's touch on some of his previous works, because I love everything that he's done. And also, don't forget to catch up on previous episodes of the Moviegoer Society. And you can tune into my podcast, Nerdtropolis Mirror Presents, which is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on the YouTube channel for Nerdtropolis. And I have a lot I'm sitting on. I need to get these out. So you might be seeing 2 interviews per week, up to maybe the end of the year, if that works out that way. But a lot of good stuff. But yeah, let's get back to it, Drew, that you watched 2 Netflix films, one that's currently on Netflix, one that's doing a theatrical run, limited release that will be on Netflix soon. So which one do you want to start off with?
I'll start with NYAD because it's the one that is on Netflix now. So it just released on Netflix this past Friday. And this is, it's part of the awards conversation, which, Sean, I don't know if you really get into like the lead up to the Academy Awards and the Oscars and just like the back and forth of the awards race. I get way too invested in it. Like, it's almost embarrassing. And so I was really interested in NYAD just because I'd heard a lot of buzz about Annette Bening's performance and Jodie Foster's performance as well. And so for those who don't know what this is about, it's about Diana Nyad, who was a marathon swimmer. And when she was in her late 20s, she tried to swim from Havana, Cuba to Florida, and she couldn't make it. It was unsuccessful, and so this was an unresolved dream for her for 30 years, and then in her 60s she's decided to attempt it again. And not to spoil the movie, but I mean, obviously there wouldn't be a movie about it if she didn't succeed. So I'm just saying, but and it's a real life event. This really happened in 2013. So but yeah, it's the real life story about her determination. And again, Annette Bening plays Diana Nyad. Jodie Foster plays Bonnie Stoll, who's like her best friend and coach. And it's kind of a typical awards biopic. Like, the movie itself is fine. The performances are really good. Like, if you're going to watch it, you watch it for the performances. It's worth noting that the directors, Elizabeth Chai, I'm gonna butcher her last name, Elizabeth Chai Vasarhelyi, and Jimmy Chin are the directors, and I believe they're husband and wife as well. But they're known for directing documentaries. They did Free Solo just a couple of years ago, which won the Best Documentary Oscar, and they did another one called The Rescue, about the Thai cave rescue of the young soccer team. And those documentaries are both really good if you haven't seen those. And so their filmmaking style, like their documentary filmmaking style, lends itself well to a story like this that's showcasing a 110-mile swim out in the middle of the ocean. So it looks really good. I couldn't help but feel like I would have been fine just having the documentary of the story and seeing the real life footage. And Diana Nyad is kind of notoriously a prickly person. She's very determined and focused on her goals. And I think Annette Bening portrays that really well. But I mean, like I said, this is kind of your typical awardsy biopic. Not a bad thing. It's just not doing anything super new. But it's good if you enjoy Jodie Foster and Annette Bening, and you want to see some great performances, I'd say check it out.
So is this the first, I guess, non-documentary film by them?
Yes, this is their narrative feature debut. So it is, and it's I'd say it's a solid debut from that standpoint.
Yeah, and that's now on Netflix. Is it a pretty long? It's an easy watch.
Yeah, I think it's right about 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours. So, it's pretty good. It's. I think that there is a point in it where like you just kind of are ready to see her succeed. Like there's a lot of stopping and starting and obstacles because it took her several attempts before she actually succeeded in the swim. So you see all of that. But otherwise, it's paced fairly well.
I'm looking at just a simple two sentence of the plot, and it says she did it without a shark cage, which I guess it's something that you need to have most of the time when you do these types of amazing accomplishments.
That was important because I think when she had attempted it in her 20s, she did have one, and there have been other people that have done it with a shark cage, and that was an important thing here to protect from sharks, but also from jellyfish. That's a big part of it, or the man-o-war jellyfish that are truly deadly, and there are some close encounters with those. Like that happened, and like near-death experiences due to jellyfish. Pretty scary.
Yeah, I don't like deep open waters. It freaks me out. Even like watching that Titanic, like kind of scares me. Like I'm like, I don't want to do a cruise, like being in the middle of nowhere and you don't know what's out there.
And this is such a crazy test because it takes, almost 60 hours to complete it. So she's doing that on having to swim continuously. So she is able to, they're able to give her food and water, but like not with direct contact. It's interesting. But like by the end of the swim, Diana NYAD's delusional. Like she, because she hasn't had sleep. She's physically and emotionally exhausted. So just the toll that it takes on your body is insane. And the movie does a good job of showcasing that.
Yeah, that's a wild story. And so it's coming to life on this Netflix film. And there is another Netflix film that you got to watch. And like you said, you watched this in the theaters?
I did. So this was showing at the Alamo Drafthouse here locally. And so I went and caught it early before it's on Netflix. It drops on Netflix November 10th. So on Friday. And I think this will be of interest to the Nerdtropolis audience just because, if you like David Fincher and the films of David Fincher, things like what we alluded to earlier in the show, David Fincher known for so many great movies, Seven, Fight Club, Panic Room, Zodiac, The Social Network.
I totally forgot he did Zodiac. Tattoo. I love Zodiac. Obviously, I fell into movies. Like I fell in love with like movies at getting into a mature age, I guess. Like 12, 13, I watched Fight Club and I like fell in love with movies even more. It felt like I thought that was like off the chains for me. And Panic Room is really good. Seven, I remember watching Seven when I guess I was much younger than 12, 13 when I watched Fight Club, but Seven's very wild. I rewatched that and I recommend Seven to people. It's really a wild film if you think about it. And then Zodiac is really well done too. What do you think about Panic Room? You said you rewatched that or you watched that for the first time.
Yeah, it was the only Fincher film that I hadn't seen. And
with Jodie Foster,
it's really good. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah,
and
that's
a young
film.
Kristen Stewart in that one too.
Yeah, that's a really good film. So definitely a good track record. So how did he do with this film, The Killer?
Yeah, so The Killer, it stars Michael Fassbender, and it is about an assassin, and he, the life of an assassin and his first job. I'll just say it doesn't go as planned. So the rest of the movie is kind of trying to, he gets kind of involved in a manhunt after this hit goes wrong. And so it's just, so that's like, you just hear that description and it's like prime David Fincher material if you've seen his movies. And you spend a lot of one-on-one time with Michael Fassbender in this, who had taken kind of a break from acting. He hasn't been in anything recently. So it's really nice to see him back on the big screen. And he's really great in this. And it has that typical kind of dark and gritty look of what you're used to from Fincher. But I think the plot is really, really well paced. A few other people show up in here, like Charles Parnell, who I feel like he's popping up in everything ever since being in Top Gun Maverick. He was in The Mandalorian season 3 recently, and I feel like there's been a few other things I've seen him in. But I really like him, and he's got just such a recognizable voice. He was in Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. That was the other one. I knew he was in something else recently. He's in this and really good. And Tilda Swinton is in it, and she's great as always. So I don't want to say too much more about the plot because it is one of those movies where this initial thing happens and this one thing kind of unfolds after the next. So I don't want to spoil anything, but it is truly a Michael Fassbender showcase, and he's great in it. And I think that if you're a fan of Fincher, you'll like it. It's probably not top tier David Fincher, where I would put like The Social Network and Zodiac and even Gone Girl and some of his movies that I really, really love. But it's solid middle tier Fincher, which like middle tier Fincher is, you know, better than a lot of other directors' top tier. I'll put it that way. So The Killer is really good. It is also just under 2 hours. It'll be on Netflix this Friday, and I highly recommend it.
So The Killer is based on a French comic book, a French graphic novel, which is really cool that they did that. And also I see that the soundtrack or the music is by Trent Reznor and Attica Ross. Is it like really like feels and sounds like them? Like how do they approach it, the music for this film?
Yeah, they've, collaborated with Fincher on other movies too. So it's that kind of similar tone. It's definitely good. I'd be lying if I said I haven't re-listened to it or anything since seeing it. And so in my head, it's not sticking out because this is actually a pretty quiet movie for long stretches of it. So I'll put it that way.
Well, it's no TMNT Muted Mayhem where those two put a pretty awesome, gnarly soundtrack together.
Right.
And I'm not trying to give anything away. I'm just reading through the plot. And it says there's some music from the Smiths that are in it. Is it a lot of music from the Smiths due to whatever? When he's listening to music, does he listen? It says he listens to music while he does things, and it's the Smiths.
He does.
Is there a lot of that?
Yes, he does that a lot. Like he has his little. I guess he listens to it on his phone. But yeah, it's like how he prepares and how he, there's a whole part where he's looking through the scope of his rifle, and he has to get his heart rate down to a certain beat before he can pull the trigger, because the higher your heart rate, the more you could move, things like that. And so the music and the atmosphere totally helps him calm down. Also, there's a lot of waiting around as an assassin. Like it's not all action, there's a lot of boredom. So the music is an important part of it.
I'm a big fan of the Smiths. So you say that, and you have Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor. Just for the music, I want to watch it. And then obviously it's David Fincher. I definitely want to watch it. Then it seems like a win-win-win. I've heard some mixed things about it, but I heard it's a really, really good watch. Like you said, it's like mid-tier Fincher, not his greatest, but a pretty good watch.
Yeah, I'd say it fits solidly in his filmography. I wasn't the biggest fan of Mank, Fincher's most recent movie. It just wasn't for me, and this is more in line with what I want from Fincher.
Well, then I'm definitely gonna check it out. And when does that come out?
It comes out on Friday, November 10th.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch it. That's adding to my Netflix watch list. Drew, I got a question for you. Do you like game shows?
I love game shows.
What's your favorite game show?
I'm a huge Jeopardy fan. I also this is a more recent development, but I have been watching a lot of Wheel of Fortune lately. And I'm really enjoying it.
I'm a longtime fan of Wheel of Fortune. I watch it whenever I can. And then in the mornings, I catch my dose of Price is Right. I'm a big fan of Drew Carey. I love Price is Right before Drew Carey, but I grew up a big Drew Carey fan, and I just love seeing him every day like we used to on the Drew Carey show and Whose Line It Was Anyway and everything else he popped up in. So I will watch that, and I'll watch the Wheel of Fortune.
I like Jeopardy because I like trivia. I actually really like watching The Price is Right, but I could never play it. I would be so terrible at it, and guessing prices and things. That's not my strong suit.
I'm a big fan of Jeopardy. Obviously, when we had Alex Trebek, and I used to watch a lot of it. So I don't even know who's hosting now, to be honest. I know it's still
It's
Dropped in the
been
name.
switching a lot. Like Mayim Bialik will still host sometimes, and Ken
Jenny,
Jennings
Ken
is doing a
Jennings.
lot.
Yeah, it's just not the same to me. But there is a delightful comedy, I think, called Quiz Lady that's now streaming on Hulu, starring Aquafina and Sandra Oh. It has some really fun laughs and it's very heartwarming. I didn't know we're getting like a heartwarming story tied into this. And I think it's a must watch if you're an Aquafina fan, but I know there's a lot of people that don't like Aquafina. I have a mixed reactions to her. When she's over the top and try to be too funny and wild, I'm not a fan. But when she's like subdued and kind of more, not chill is not the word, but kind of like more shy and more awkward, I enjoy those types of performances. What about you, Drew? Like when it comes to Aquafina's performances, like there's certain movies I don't like the way she does things, but other things like I love her performance.
I would say big picture, I'm a fan. I think she can be genuinely funny, especially as kind of like actually, I was gonna say as a side character, like I like her as the funny best friend in saying something like Shang-Chi. And I like her in Raya and the Last Dragon and where she voices the dragon. But she has been really great in some movies that she's been the lead of. Like The Farewell is incredible.
Oh
And
yes,
she's
that
really
is
great
really
in
good.
that.
I love the farewell, and that's the type of role I like her in. I feel like Quiz Lady is not similar, but it's someone that you can kind of relate to more with these types of performances of hers.
Obviously her voice is really iconic or really stands out. And so, like I said, in something like Raya and the Last Dragon, I thought her voice work was really good. But then she was in the most recent The Little Mermaid live action adaptation and voiced Scuttle. And I was not a big fan of her Scuttle performance, unfortunately. So but I would say overall, I'm still positive on her. I think I like when she pops up, and I'm always surprised at how versatile she can be because she can be in something like The Farewell, which is more of a drama, and she's more serious as the lead. But then she can, and even in this, like in Quiz Lady, she's kind of like the frumpy, boring girl, and then but like in something like Crazy Rich Asians, she's the totally like eccentric, strange friend. So I think it's funny how she can somehow play both of those roles and do both of them pretty well.
Yeah, she's also in Renfield, and she was. I mean, it was a decent performance, but like I said, like Quiz Lady and The Farewell, those are the types of Aquafina performances I like, and she's good in Raya as well. But what's so surprising to me is Sandra Oh is in this movie, who is a remarkable actress and has a very unique and funny role, which is her older sister, which honestly, her character seems so odd to me at first.
I'd
And
say definitely playing against type here.
oh, definitely. And then I was like, I can't believe this like sister role because the age difference and just the look is so drastic to me. And it's like she kind of looks like her mom, but like it grows on you with her charm and her humor, and she delivers. Her name is Jenny in this movie as the older sister, and it just like works as you get more backstory and kind of get the more with her and Aquafina. It kind of feels more sisterly, but at first I was kind of taken back and I was like, wait, is this the mom or is this the sister? But Sandra Oh is really great in this, and her most wild role today easily.
And I'll say this about the movie as a whole. So for full transparency, I hadn't even heard of this movie before you were like, "Hey, you should watch Quiz Lady," and I saw your review post. That being said, I logged into Hulu this weekend, and it was right there on the splash page. Like it was the big thing they were promoting, and I'm really glad that you recommended this and pushed for recommended that I watch it because I was very charmed by it, and especially when you go into it not really knowing anything or having low expectations. And this is the type of studio comedy that doesn't get released in theaters much anymore, that does get sent to streaming a lot. And I thought it was very charming. And can we say Will Ferrell's in this too?
Yeah, yeah. So this
supporting role?
film introduces a Jeopardy-esque game show that Aquafina loves, and it's hosted by the charismatic Will Ferrell, and it's kind of like a Alex Trebek character. And a lot of people don't like Will Ferrell because he's over the top, but like just like Aquafina, Will Ferrell is very like subdued in this too, and is like very like more quiet, but like very charismatic and has some charm in this, which I really loved. It also has Jason Schwartzman in this, which I love when he pops up. And then you have some great performances from Tony Hale and Holland Taylor, which are really nice additions. And I really actually like Tony Hale. He plays Benjamin Franklin, and those
I
scenes
thought he was
cracked me up.
actually very funny in this
Yeah,
in a small role
a
here.
lot of that had to be improv. I felt like, which was the way to go. You can't write the clever stuff they were talking about. And with him and Sandra Oh, that was some fun stuff. But yeah, Will Ferrell is in this, and he's the host of this Jeopardy-esque game show.
Yeah, and he is playing like the subdued version of Will Ferrell. He's not being the over the top silly. He's like very like fatherly, I guess, is like in this wise, like overly nice game show host who's just oozing with kindness.
Yeah, it's a role that like people will like Will Ferrell playing. If you hate his over the topness, this is a more subdued version of what he does, and it's really nice. But I love everything Will Ferrell does, so it didn't bother me that he was more quiet in this one. It was actually nice to see him in a totally different role. Same with Aquafina. But yeah, Jason Schwartzman's in this, and he kind of cracked me up. He plays a character you want to hate, and you definitely
being just purposefully so slimy.
He does a really good job with that. But yeah, I love this film. It goes beyond comedy. It dives into family dynamics. It has heartwarming moments, and there is plenty of laughs. But it's a really easy watch too, very entertaining. And if you like dogs, there's a plot around a dog in this film as well, which is that subplot's actually a lot of fun too and pretty funny.
Yeah, it's like part road trip movie, part sister comedy, part game show. You know, it kind of wears a lot of different hats. But overall, I thought it was pretty funny. I think, like you said, one of the things is, I thought Sandra Oh was fun in this, but one of the things I couldn't get over. So Aquafina is 35 in real life, and Sandra Oh is 52 in real life. So there's a 17-year age gap there, and they are playing sisters. And in the movie, it was almost distracting me at times, just of like how big the age gap was, because they never directly say the age difference between the two characters in the movie, but there are flashbacks to where it can't have been that
They're
big.
close in age. They're very close. Not close. Not very close in age. I probably shouldn't say it like that. But they go to like she's not in college.
It's like at max 10 years in the movie, at max. So it's either 10 or less. So it's just that to me was a little distracting, but I was able to get over it because I thought what Sandra Oh was doing here was just so funny and outside of what I'm used to seeing her do. So, you know, I can let it slide. But you might find it distracting at first.
Yeah, it was distracting for me to figure it because I was just like, this is kind of drastic. She looks like her mom kind of sometimes. And,
right.
But after you kind of figure everything out, I love the flashbacks they show. I thought the young actors that played the young Aquafina I think the young Aquafina in this movie was really good. I would watch a movie of them as like a younger age too. I thought a lot of those scenes were really nice to watch and a lot of fun and gave us some good backstory as well.
There's another bit in this movie. I think this is just worth pointing out because it was another thing in the movie, and I won't spoil the who or what, but there's a bit in this movie involving an actor who recently left us, unfortunately. And this was clearly filmed before that actor passed away. And so that there's a bit in this movie that I was just like, oh, like it almost made me sad. So I just wanted to say that too.
Yeah,
I guess that's a slight spoiler, but I won't say who it is or what happens.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. I mean, it's going to leave you with a smile just from the comfort of your couch. This is actually a really great movie you can watch at home. So definitely don't skip out on Quiz Lady. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, which I think is a really good rating for this type of movie. You just enjoy it home with the family. And I think it's pretty family friendly. I didn't think it was that drastic of anything. I thought, I don't know if it's what it's rated, to be honest, but
yeah, I don't know because it's streaming. I didn't even see. I feel like there's some cursing in it, but otherwise it's like pretty family friendly.
It says it's R
okay.
for drug use and language, but it's very light. I didn't think it was a rated R movie to me.
It does have the kind of token drug use scene from these kinds of comedies that's like fine. But it just, plays right into stereotype there. But I'm with you. I'd give it a 3 out of 5. So I'm right there, middle of the road. It's a solid comedy with stars in it that I'll take any comedy I can get at this point.
Yeah, I feel like that's not a lot that we're getting. Some solid comedies. This year is like not really much love for the comedy genre. There's only been a few really that's been out. So hopefully we get more, especially streaming wise. We need some quality ones like this one. This was a really good quality comedy. And yeah, I want to see what else is next. Next for us, Drew, I mean, it was a quiet week kind of for us, but I think things are ramping up. You got the Marvels coming out. You got a bunch of stuff. Maybe I'll just look at my schedule and kind of read what my calendar looks like of what's going on. So we got the Marvels. I think I'm going to go check out Next Goal Wins. And I know the Trolls movie's coming out. And then you have Hunger Games. I mean, and then you have Napoleon and Thanksgiving. I mean, so we have a lot going on. I have the Wish movie. Apparently there was maybe a Poor Things coming up. I mean, there is so much American Fiction. Yeah, like those are all the films that are just coming up in the next 3 weeks. That's a lot of movies. So we're gonna be very busy trying to figure this out.
Yeah, it was kind of nice getting to do an episode focused on movies that are streaming or will be streaming soon, because this is like the calm before the storm, because we're about to have a busy holiday season of big releases.
Yeah, Thanksgiving will be here any day, and then Christmas. So I mean, there's a lot. We're gonna wrap up the year so strong, Drew. So everyone, please make sure you keep up with us because we're gonna keep on going. And if you haven't yet, check out the previous episodes of the Moviegoers Society, and you can check out my podcast, Nerdtropolis Mayor Presents, where I interview directors and actors, all on the Nerdtropolis Podcast Network. And once again, Drew, where can they find you?
You can find me at Drew Munhausen on all the different social media platforms.
Thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Moviegoers Society. Once again, I am Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and we will see you at the movies.